This is the Hidden VTuber channel. I'm Hidden, and we're going to play some Vanguard Zero. If you're not familiar with the game, please check out the previous video where we ran over the basics of the game while I was busy getting run over by dragons. Today we're going to get on the ranks grind, aiming for the season rewards. This season, the reward card is Dragonic Overlord, which we took a clobbering from during yesterday's video. You can obtain a full playset of the card over the season, nabbing copies at legend ranks 10, 20, 30 and 50. Our rank is 7, and we have until the end of Friday, so we best jump ahead right into a game. So we're back with Royal Paladins, and we're playing against Spike Brothers, the clan from the ongoing event. Go in second. This is a decent hand. We're going to keep this. For the moment, we can cycle Gancelot back, search out Blaster Blade, and place triggers back into our deck. They ride Reckless Express. First Vanguard Mecha Trainer moves back. They'll be searching out a Sentinel with that soon enough. We're going to ride Marin. We're then going to have Buckle move back, and we're going to use its effect to trade a trigger for Flogel from outside of our deck. Place a Gancelot back to search out Blaster Blade just in case they try to damage deny us next turn. It's unlikely because they went first, but could still happen. And just hit them in the face. We got a draw trigger. Power doesn't do much, but the extra card is nice. They also got a draw trigger on their damage check. But that is one Skydiver Don. Okay, so this grade 2 with 7k power can call the top card of the deck if it's grade 1 or 2. They hit a grade 3, so not only did they not get their effect, they also removed what would have been a heal trigger from their drive check, which is good for us. Okay, so we damage a perfect guard, which isn't ideal. We would definitely like to see those in our hand to protect ourselves from fatal damage. This notification about a maximum of 9 cards comes up when you have at least 8 cards. So we are definitely going to go for the Bark Gull and Lou effects this game. So we trade out a critical trigger for Lou, and then we Counter Blast 1, send Lou, Flogel and Buckle to our soul to ride Blaster Blade from our deck. We'll definitely want trouble clicking and dragging. Put that out there. Put a 10k mill in front of it, and we will attack in this order, not the other way around. We aren't big enough to hit the Vanguard without a boost on our own Vanguard, so we'll swing in the rear guard. They get another draw trigger on their damage check. This is looking very reminiscent of yesterday's game, but on the bright side, it's more Skydivers gone. It's a key card which lets them extend their turn. and get a 4th attack in. So we'd prefer they didn't draw more cards, but we're happy that the Skydivers are gone. And they didn't rise to grade 3, so they mustn't have grade 3 in hand. Yep, so there's an Interceptor, Reckless Express in front of the Mecha Trainer. They character Intercept, and we will be seeing likely 2 damage this turn. So they used High-Speed Brachy's effect to give it more power, cycle it into deck. This opens up the Rearguard Circle and opens up the opportunity to use Dudley Dan, as they're doing Counterblast 2 and call out a card from their deck. And they can choose any card from their deck, so this is very powerful. Their last attack can't hit, so they brought out a Skydiver, but it's not doing anything. We sitting at 4 damage to 2, which isn't ideal. I think we like to push in, is what I'm thinking. So we're going to ride Ganslot. This isn't what I usually want to do, but I very much want to push the opponent's damage count up. Get a Blaster Blade out, and want another column. We'll drop the 2k power from the Unicorn onto Blaster Blade and go to battle. We're going to swing with Ganslot first. Not the ideal attack order, but we need to get this crit in first. If we don't, then there's likely going to be a perfect card coming down. Our rearguard columns can't hit the opposing Vanguard because they hit a damage trigger and the damage shield. In addition to that, boosts it up too high to hit, so we definitely want that Skydiver gone, and we'll hit this Reckless Express because it's there. Deprive them of a capable attacker. Now at this point they want to use Mecha Trainer to search out a Sentinel from their deck to tighten up their defense. Problem is, if they do that, they won't be able to use Dudley Dan's effect, which requires Counterblast 2, and they only have 2 open. So, like, they might be opting to use Dudley Dan. Yeah, they're opting to use Dudley Dan to try and take us out of the game. Okay, so their booster restands when the attack hits. They use their effect to boost the power and cycle their rearguard back into deck, opening up the Vanguard Circle. That's interesting. They didn't use Dudley Dan's effect. So that last card must be Sentinel. So we don't want to be on Ganslot. At this point we want to prioritise getting at least the 5th damage in. So we'll ride Alfred early, use its effect to bring out Blaster Blade. Blaster Blade's effect goes off, allowing us to take out this Interceptor. This is pretty big for us. We need something else in our front row. This 9k will do, making a 15 column against that 10k Vanguard. And we just want to swing in and hope they don't hit a damage trigger. Boost either one of our columns up, they make the same numbers. Okay, so they hit a draw trigger. That's not ideal. So we only have the one attack which can hit them now, and that's going to take out the sentinel which they held onto. Our last attack can't hit, but we did heal, which is pretty big. It's going to take a fourth attack or a critical trigger to take us out on this turn. But they have Mecha Train, so they can tutor out another Sentinel, and they still have the 2 Counterblast open for Dudley Dan should they choose to use it. Okay, so Devil Summoner finds a Sentinel off the top of the deck. They're calling that. Not an ideal situation for them to have to call it, and they move into the attack phase. Only 2 attacks. One of those cards in hand is a Sentinel. There's a second card in hand. Are they going to use Dudley Dan? Yes, they are. So they're bringing out the Skydiver for the 4th attack. That's a heal trigger. That's very, very big for them. So their restanding booster in that column is going to be really big. And it is going to get over any kind of damage trigger or damage shield which we have. Yep, so there's the Sentinel we searched out. But it's still big enough to hit, so we need a heal trigger to survive. And we don't hit it. So the opponent wins. They were stuck on grade 2 the entire game. It's not as big of a disadvantage as it is in the cardboard card game, but that's still a little bit awkward. So jumping into the next game, we have Nova Grapplers, and we're going second again. So Nova Grapplers we haven't seen yet. They, like Spike Brothers, also specialise in multiple attacks. But instead of calling out new cards to attack with, they restand either their Vanguard or their Rearguards. Or there is another option. This looks like a Riser deck. So Perfect Riser is the kind of black sheep of the Nova Grappler clan in that it doesn't prioritise having multiple attacks. Instead, you end up with a very big Vanguard with a bonus critical. It's a lot of pressure, so the extra critical means that every turn from riding it, you're basically looking at being pushed into range for a Sentinel to be triggered. We made a minor misplay. We didn't ride a Vanguard with enough power. This is on me. I'm trying to play while commentating and I'm not used to it, but I'll be having to get used to that. So we played a card out in the front row. It's probably a wasted card. It's going to be vulnerable to an attack, and I would be very surprised if the opponent didn't just swing at it to reduce our available cards. Transriser, similar to the 7k grade 2 from the Spike Brothers deck we just played, calls out a grade 1 or 2 from the top of the deck. They found a perfect card, which isn't ideal for them, but it is an extra card on the field. Their second attack can hit. We hit a damage trigger we didn't really need, and this Rearguard can Counterblast 2 to draw 1. So more cards for the opponent. Battle Riser goes back. I'm surprised they swung with it. They might not be riding Perfect Riser, or they just have other cards which will let it fulfill condition. I think this game we probably don't need Buckle. So I'm going to ride Gallatin. I'm going to plan to ride into Alfred next turn, rather than going for anything too fancy like a Gancelot. Take out their Interceptor, hit the Vanguard, and call that a turn. Call that a turn. I'm sure there's a joke in a different card game anime about calling something a turn, and there was a witty retort to that. You call that a turn? Okay, so they rode Azura Kaiser. This is the premier restand your rearguards Vanguard. If they hit a trigger unit during their drive check, then they are going to be standing a rearguard. Stand trigger, so they have about 3 different sources of standing cards right now. So, Death Army Lady, stand itself when you check a trigger. When you check a trigger, Azura Kaiser stands one of your rearguards, and they hit a stand trigger, which stands a rearguard. So, it was a bit redundant there, but it got the job done. They got a heal trigger, and they are definitely landing 3 attacks this turn. We got a heal trigger, which is very nice. We would be on 5 damage if not for it. Draw trigger, also very helpful. They have 4 cards in hand. 1 PG's out on field. We have seen from them 3 draws, their stand, which was their Battle Riser, and a... So we're going to stick to our plan. Get onto Alfred. We're going to first play Gancelot. Then we're going to play one of our 2 Blaster Blades. Doing it in this order obfuscates the fact that we have multiple in our hand. We're going to use Blaster Blade's effect to take out this rearguard Azura Kaiser. We are going to struggle to get in a ton of attacks against this 11k base. So we're just going to try and reduce their advantage, hopefully reduce the number of cards which they can viably attack with. They hit a heal, they get the power, which might stop our attack, but at least they didn't heal because they had less damage than us. And we didn't get a trigger, so that was pretty big. They blocked an attack, and they are at 3 damage instead of 4, which is what we would have hoped for. So it's going to be extremely difficult for us to pull off Fatal during their next turn. In fact, 2 intercepts, we're probably going to assume that they have at least 1 Sentinel in hand, so that would be 3 attacks accounted for. They're not going to use the Sentinel from their hands next turn if they have it, because we're only probably only going to be able to get 1 damage in, but okay, yep, that's impactful. So drawing a lot of cards and gaining power there. That's pretty standard. They'll swing in with Kurara. Damage in there. And then they will swing in to attempt for game with their remaining rearguard column after drawing more cards. But we have 2 sentinels in hand. We can block this attack. The problem is that we can't kill this turn, and there is a fair chance that they'll be able to take us out on the turn after. So we don't need to re-ride. We're going to use Ganslot, put that heal back, get a Blaster Blade out from deck. Good thinning, and we need to play both of these Blaster Blades. We can only use the effect of 1, because we only have 3 open counterblast, not 4. But we really, really need the intercepts on field. Play this. Okay. So we swing in, Interceptor, take that out. Get 1 hit in, hopefully get the 2nd hit in, unlike last turn. So we've got that. We are connecting with Vanguard attack. We hit a heal trigger. That's very, very nice. I'll put that there. Did we hit our 2nd stand? No, we didn't. We didn't hit it anyway. But we do have a stand remaining in deck. So there is the possibility that we can restand one of our rear guards and get an extra attack in. We weren't getting that against the Azure Kaiser. But it could definitely be something next turn. They're at 5 damage and they have to stop every single attack if they don't heal out. Okay, so they have 2 counterblast. What this means is this rearguard, grade 3, it can restand a rearguard when it hits the Vanguard. Okay, so they swing at Blaster Blade with their Vanguard. That's pretty big. They swing unboosted with... Okay, there goes the sand trigger. They swing unboosted with their grade 3. They can Counterblast 2 to stand, but we had too much power. They wouldn't have been able to swing over it. Don't need to re-ride. And this turn, we want to take them out. And we will not be living through next turn. So we have 2 attacks. I have the feeling they have 2 sentinels in hand. We've only seen the one, which they call... Did they call it? Or did they damage it? I can't remember. We've only seen the one, so there are multiple unaccounted for. We need to swing in at this Inceptor, so we only get 2 attacks in here. And we're expecting this to be blocked. And we're probably expecting the second to be blocked as well. But we don't really have... We could swing into the Rearguard grade 3, but they can still make columns and swing in for fatal damage next turn. So we have to take the chance that they simply don't have it. And they don't. Do they heal? They do not. So that's 1 game for us. So first win on the channel. That's always nice to have. So we took a loss to Spike Brothers, which was well earned by our opponent. While Royal Paladins have Blaster Blades to gain momentum in their favour, our opponent made good use of the cards they gained with the early draw triggers to try and maximise their offence. We did have the option to go for a longer term Mega Blast play, which might have been more optimal given the early triggers, so that's a learning point. In the second game, both sides played an alright game, but there were two factors which really pulled things in our favour. First, the opponent only managed to set themselves up to get minimal advantage out of their restanding effects, and more ambitious plays would likely have won them the game. Second, the heal triggers we cycled back into the deck with Ganslot came in really big in keeping us in the game, which shows off its very subtle but important strength of being able to simultaneously deck thin and get more triggers live when they're needed. But that's all for today's video. Tomorrow we're going to be continuing the ranked grind while showing off a different clan, so if you'd like to know when the video hits, you know what to do. And remember, I'll be seeing you next time.